I am the middle child of a family of three siblings that grew up in a small town. My father is a hardworking but emotionally inaccessible man who is looking at retiring soon. My mother is a kowtowing housewife from a traditional conservative and religious background. They raised me, and I love them, but they have always considered me a disappointment. My older brother is a golden child. He's 40, married to a completely vapid and quiet woman. They have two boys, both into sports punching, and I think they are complete brats. My brother's job has been mainly selling cars, and he works at a dealership nearby. As an adult, he took on this. I am a mentor to the handicapped attitude around me, like I am mentally deficient and should be grateful to his charity towards me. Most of his advice is just torment in another form, a chance to boast about his cars, big house, trophy wife, two athletic kids, powerboat ATVs, and all that. I was the kid who cried too much and made excuses. To be fair, I didn't do that well in school. I was picked on and made fun of because I wasn't a huge redneck jock. Like most kids in this town, I have asthma, which my parents don't believe is a real thing, suffered depression since I can remember, and was never able to run in a straight line, much less toss around a football. My parents were always expressing their frustration and why I was never as smart or outgoing as my brother. I graduated school with a disappointing 2.5 GPA, used my own money to go to college, but dropped out on the second year. This was always brought up to me in conversation. My little sister was a golden princess. I don't have much to say about her because I moved out of the house when she became a teenager, so I feel like most of my feelings about her come from an adult point of view. She's not a bad person, just a little spoiled. She engages with the way my parents and brother use on me, but it's mostly parroting, I think, to avoid being the low one on the totem pole. She married at 19, had a grand wedding, and has 3 kids of her own. The only one I like is her middle child, and I am sure it's projected sympathy because she reminds me of what it was like to be the middle child, and she's always getting picked on. I was always an antisocial and awkward nerd after I dropped out of college. I worked at a gaming and comic book store, which has been out of business for over 7 years, but my parents kept using it in present tense. While there, I met a fellow geek who was looking to start a tech business, and he and I started a support business that grew and grew. Eventually, he sold the company to a bigger company that had to buy me out. They did so with cash and stock, and then their stock did really well. During this time, I invested or created some extra business interests, with a lot of them being lucrative without getting too much into it. I am currently worth 7 figures of assets and currently work as a CTO of another private startup. But I don't live extravagantly because I don't need to. I drive a 15-year-old Saturn, live in a 2-bedroom house, I'll be in a nice neighborhood, and all my furniture is secondhand. I'm still single, see a therapist, and I'm busy. Most of the time, I have to fight alcoholism, which my parents do not support whatsoever because they think that it's all in my head, like the asthma and depression. My parents expect me to be at dinner every Sunday, but they live at the other end of the state, a 90 to 120-minute drive each way, and that takes up most of my son half of my weekend. But they just assume as a single mental case. As my brother calls me openly, I don't have anything better to do. For 3 hours, I had to endure everything from coerced praise of my brother's latest big sale to being told advice on how to live my life, grow up, get married, and be an adult for once. If I skip a dinner, I'll hear about it. Next, dinner. My parents haven't said I am a moocher per se, but it's implied, which always puzzles me. In fact, I never have a good answer from my therapist as to why I still kept going, because any success I have had is belittled or redefined in some negative light. I haven't exactly shared my life with anyone back home until very recently. Everyone still thought I worked in that gaming store. My life of retail sluggishness was compared to the outgoing and go-better lifestyle of my brother, who had a real job like a grown-up. Games and comics were kid stuff. Anytime I mention technology of any kind, my brother talks over me like I haven't a clue, and I have long since learned to just let him. It's very obvious that he's full of crap, but I feared calling him out because then I'd have to explain how I know that. And then I'd have to explain how would I do. And I guess I was a little afraid they'd belittle that, and it would affect everything. I'm a hot mess. Last month, however, it changed because my brother got a hold of some of my personal data from mom and dad. He hired some private investigator company to give them a report on me as a person under the pretense it was an employer background check. My guess is that they were going to have an intervention of some sort, But what they found shocked them. They found my net worth. Where I lived was not exactly a room in some channy and some other things I wanted to keep private because I deal in security. I got alerts of some unauthorized credit pools, and long story short, I figured out what had happened. I was so angry I hired that same agency to look up their net worth and assets. Needless to say, my brother was living way outside his means, has several arrests for DWI and public drunken conduct over the years. A few domestic disturbance calls a file with CPS, but no current charges. Scheduled IRS back payments, and has 3 mortgage loans on his house. His credit is in the crapper. My parents were modest and had very little outside of what I already knew. Boring and actually quite sensible in comparison. I didn't even look up my sister when I came to dinner. I was looking to burn down some bridges. However, what I came into was even more depressing. My parents treated me completely different. They awkwardly fawned over me like I was always the golden child. And this caused my brother to lose his crap halfway through dinner. He tried to compete with me by possibly making up stories about recent commissions and a promotion, and I merely said that these were good things because all of the IRS tax issues, loans, and overextended credit. He denied all of it. I handed him a copy of my report and said it was he who inadvertently suggested that agency when he pulled mine. I have to confess that felt good for a few minutes of my life. My parents scolded him with dramatic shock, but it was obvious they were in on it too. They had to have given him the Social Security number for one. It was sickening, and I got no joy over the fight. I felt like I couldn't define the disdain I had for my family until this moment. They were all greedy cowards. The next hour they threw each other under the bus while I just kept quiet when I could. Sometimes they'd turn on me, and I'd give nonchalant single-word answers or shrug a lot. My sister, her husband, my brother's wife, and all 5 kids just sat dumbfounded because nothing like this had ever happened before. Usually it's pretty quiet and predictable. My mother starts the conversation. My father grunts a lot. My brother boasts a lot. His wife boasts a lot. My brother and sister say what they are up to if they get the chance. And there will be some jabs about how I should look up to my brother and be a real man. Now it was my mom and dad and my brother screaming about all this old news like crap that happened to the family 20, 30 years ago, and whose fault it really was. Like everything unraveled in an email. A free-for-all. Every stupid thing I felt about them was validated. And I feel like I should feel happy or have a sense of justice, but frankly, I feel terrible. I don't think I handled it well. I knew they were awful people. What was I hoping to accomplish by dragging my brother's dirty linen out? Now his kids know, for heaven's sake. It ended when my brother, red in the face with fury, blamed me for causing all the problems in this family in one huge summary. You should have never been born. You could tell my mom and dad were trying to shush him in a panic, something I've never seen them do before that night. But they never acknowledged how they treated me before. I got up at some point and told them I was tired of them all and I wasn't coming back to dinner anymore. Then my parents accused me of withholding from them. They said some niece or nephew had some ailment I could have fixed and turned a blind eye. I was never aware of these things, and no one asked me for help. Frankly, I think they were making it all up on the spot. But I didn't say that. We thought you worked at a comic book store? No, I stopped correcting you 10 years ago. It hasn't been in business since 2011, something I mentioned more than once. Oh, how these narcissists rewrote history was beyond appalling and straight to embarrassing. I finally just walked out and drove home. I have mixed feelings. I feel kind of violated that now. They know how much I'm worth, and there is definitely going to be pressure to pay them back because I saw them do this to my brother. I don't want to deal with that. Yes, I am grateful my mom and dad gave me hot food, fresh water, and my own bed to sleep growing up. Yes, we went to amusement parks every summer. And no, I was not beaten by my parents at least, but I was definitely not their favorite. And I feel like any accomplishments I have had as an adult was done in spite of my upbringing. I grew up with them looking the other way when my brother punched me, kicked me, and verbally abused me. Even if they think verbal A is not a real thing, I feel like I am just done. I know they are my family, but I am just so done with them all. I don't want them to die or anything. I just want to completely cut ties with them and close that chapter in my life. Of course, if I get a girlfriend and want to get married and have kids, how am I going to approach that? Now for the top comments before the update go. No contact. The only reason they wanted you around before was so they could belittle you to make themselves feel good. And the only reason they want you around now is to get some of your money. Your family is no reflection of you. Frankly, they all suck. You are not a loser. You actually sound like a pretty neat person who got the wrong end of the deal when it came to family. Block their numbers and go live your life without them. I think you did an outstanding job. Lower your contact with your family as much as you like. You know, they're only after your money, so you don't have to have anything to do with them on anything but your own terms. Keep talking to your therapist to help you move into a life without them dragging you down. Go. No contact? Absolutely. If you can pack your things and move to a new city for a fresh start regarding dating. Lots of people are estranged from their families. It can be weird to explain to a potential partner, especially if they're familial. Ties are strong, but you certainly are not the first person who has had to take drastic steps like this. You will build a new family when the time is right. In the meantime, there are a couple of things I think you should do. If you haven't already, put a security freeze on your credit accounts. If your brother used resources from the car dealership to pull this info on you, you may want to consider telling them. I don't think they would be pleased to hear they were complicit in fraud. Also, get a lawyer. You are young, but catastrophes happen, and currently your parents are next of kin by default and will inherit everything. Maybe you don't care about that, but if you would prefer to see your assets, go to someone else. Get it in writing as soon as possible. Lastly, find a good counselor. You may experience some grief in the coming months, and it will be helpful to talk through it with a professional. Update 1. After the explosive dinner where my family learned about my financial situation and everything fell apart, I decided to cut ties and focus on my own life. I didn't expect to hear from them for a while, but apparently they had other plans. A few weeks ago, my parents reached out to me. They started with small talk, trying to act as if everything was normal, but it wasn't long before they got to the real reason for their call. They wanted to talk about my older brother. My golden brother, who has always been their favorite, was apparently in dire financial straits. His lifestyle had finally caught up with him, and he was facing serious financial problems. My parents, without missing a beat, told me that it was my duty to help him out. They argued that since I had more than enough money, it was only fair that I share some of it with my brother to help him get back on his feet. They insisted that families should support each other and that I owed it to them to help my brother out of his mess. I was floored. After everything they had put me through, the years of neglect, favoritism, and belittlement, they had the audacity to ask me to bail out my brother. The same brother who had tormented me growing up, who had treated me like dirt, and who had never shown any remorse for his actions. I told my parents that I wasn't going to give my brother any money. I reminded them of how they had always treated me as the black sheep of the family, and how my success had come despite their lack of support. I explained that I had worked hard for everything I had, and I wasn't about to hand it over to someone who had never respected me. My parents didn't take it well. They accused me of being selfish and ungrateful, claiming that I was abandoning my family in their time of need. They tried to guilt-trip me, saying that it wasn't fair for me to keep all that money to myself while my brother struggled. It was clear they believed I owed them and my brother simply because we were family. Things took an even darker turn when my brother himself called me. He was furious, saying that I was ruining his life by refusing to help him. He threw all kinds of accusations at me, calling me ungrateful, spiteful, and a disappointment to the family. He even went as far as to say that I owed him for all the advice he had given me over the years, despite that advice being nothing but torment. The final straw came when my brother threatened to come after me legally. He said that he would find a way to force me to share my wealth, claiming that I had manipulated our parents into disowning him and that I was the reason for his financial troubles. It was a blatant attempt to scare me into compliance, but I stood firm. I told him that any legal action he took would be met with strong resistance and that he had no right to my money. I made it clear that I was done with their games and that I wouldn't be manipulated any longer. After hanging up, I decided it was time to take definitive action. I contacted my lawyer and set up legal protections for my assets. I also changed my phone number and tightened my security measures to ensure that my family couldn't continue to harass me. It was a tough decision, but one that I knew was necessary to protect myself and my future. Since then, I've felt a mixture of relief and sadness. It's hard to completely cut ties with your family, even when they've treated you poorly, but I know it's the right thing to do for my mental health and well-being. I'm focusing on my upcoming wedding with Alex and building a life that's filled with positivity and love. Thank you all for your continued support and encouragement. Your words have been a source of strength during these challenging times. I hope my story serves as a reminder that it's okay to set boundaries and protect yourself, even when it means making difficult decisions about family. Here's to new beginnings, self-respect, and the courage to stand up for what's right. Update 2. Hey everyone, just when I thought things couldn't get any more chaotic, my family managed to take their antics to an entirely new level. This latest update is shocking and has turned my life upside down yet again. After I refused to bail out my brother and set clear boundaries with my family, they decided to retaliate in the most public and damaging way possible. They took to social media to badmouth me, airing our family drama for the entire world to see. They painted me as the greedy, ungrateful child who had abandoned their family in their time of need, all while flaunting my newfound wealth. My parents, brother, and even my sister joined in, posting lengthy rants about how I had come into a fortune and refused to share it with my struggling family. They made it sound like I was living a lavish lifestyle while they were on the brink of poverty, conveniently leaving out all the details of their past behavior and the reasons for my decisions. The posts went viral within our hometown community. People who had known us for years were shocked and intrigued by the scandal. My phone started ringing off the hook, and my inbox was flooded with messages. Old acquaintances, distant relatives, and even people I barely knew were reaching out, some offering sympathy, but most asking for financial help. The situation escalated quickly. People from our hometown were calling and messaging me, asking for loans, investments, donations, and outright handouts. They had all sorts of stories about why they needed the money and why I should help them. It was overwhelming and incredibly stressful. My private life had been turned into a public spectacle, and I felt like I had lost all control. I knew I had to take action to protect myself and my privacy. First, I posted a public statement on my social media explaining my side of the story. I briefly addressed the situation, stating that the portrayal of events by my family was not accurate and that my financial success was a result of hard work and perseverance. I made it clear that I had no obligation to share my wealth and that I would not be entertaining any further requests for financial assistance. Next, I contacted a PR firm to help manage the fallout. They advised me on how to handle the media attention and work to done to my reputation. I also hired additional security measures to protect my home and personal information from further breaches. Despite my efforts, the situation remained tense. My family continued to post defamatory comments and stories, trying to turn more people against me. They even went as far as to contact local news outlets to sell their story, hoping to gain more sympathy and public support. It was a nightmare. I've also been in close contact with my therapist, working through the emotional toll of this situation. It's been incredibly challenging, but I'm determined to come out stronger on the other side. To those who reached out with genuine concern and support, I am deeply grateful. Your kindness has been a beacon of light during these dark times. For those who sought to take advantage of my situation, I hope you understand that my decision to protect my privacy and well-being is not a reflection of my character, but a necessary step to safeguard my future. Thank you all for standing by me and offering your support. Your encouragement has been invaluable, and I hope my story continues to inspire others to stand up for themselves, even in the face of adversity. Here's to resilience, privacy, and the strength to navigate life's unexpected challenges with grace and courage. Update 3. Hey everyone, just when I thought my life was settling into a new normal, another shocking twist has turned everything upside down. This update includes some incredible highs and some dramatic lows, all of which have left me reeling. First, the good news. Over the past few months, I met an amazing woman named Emma. We connected through mutual friends, and from our first date, there was an undeniable spark. Emma is kind, intelligent, and incredibly supportive. She knows all about my tumultuous family history and has been a source of unwavering strength as I navigated the recent chaos. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and it became clear to me that Emma is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. She brings joy and stability into my life, and I can't imagine a future without her. So I made a decision. I bought an engagement ring and planned a romantic proposal. I'm going to ask Emma to marry me this weekend, and I couldn't be more excited. However, amidst this joy, another family scandal has erupted. Last week, I received a phone call that left me in shock. My older brother has been arrested and is facing serious charges for financial fraud. The news hit me like a ton of bricks. Despite all the animosity and the terrible things he's done, I never expected something like this to happen. From what I've gathered, my brother had been involved in some shady business dealings at the car dealership where he worked. He had been manipulating financial records, embezzling funds, and defrauding customers. His reckless lifestyle and mounting debts had driven him to desperate measures, and now he was paying the price. The news quickly spread through our hometown, adding another layer of scandal to our already troubled family reputation. My parents are devastated, and the community is buzzing with gossip. Despite everything, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for my brother. He had made terrible choices, but seeing him go to jail was still a hard pill to swallow. In the midst of this turmoil, I've had to stay focused on my upcoming proposal to Emma. She's been a beacon of hope and positivity, and I want to make this moment special for both of us. I've planned a beautiful evening at our favorite spot overlooking the city, where I'll ask her to be my partner for life. This journey has been a whirlwind of emotions, and I'm grateful for the support of my friends, my therapist, and especially Emma. They've helped me stay grounded and focused on what truly matters. Despite the chaos with my family, I'm determined to move forward and build a life filled with love and happiness. Thank you all for your continued support and encouragement. Your messages have been a source of strength during these challenging times. Update 4. Hey everyone, I didn't think things could get any more dramatic, but my family has once again outdone themselves. Just as I was preparing to propose to Emma, my family's desperate attempts to sabotage my happiness have reached a new shocking low. After planning the perfect proposal for Emma, I was on cloud 9. Everything was set for the big day, and I couldn't wait to ask her to be my wife. However, just days before the proposal, Emma came to me looking deeply troubled. She had received several messages and phone calls from my family, and what she told me left me furious. My parents and brother, in their never-ending quest to control and manipulate, had reached out to Emma behind my back. They told her a series of lies, painting me as a spoiled, ungrateful brat who had always taken advantage of them. They claimed that I was untrustworthy, selfish, and not the kind of person she should marry. They went as far as to say that if she married me, she would be making the biggest mistake of her life. Emma, to her credit, didn't take their words at face value. She knows me well and understands the complexities of my family dynamics, but the sheer audacity and malice of their actions shook her, and she was understandably upset. She showed me the messages and recounted the phone calls, and I could feel my blood boiling with each word. This was the final straw. My family had crossed a line, and I knew I couldn't let this go unaddressed. Their actions were not just a violation of my privacy, but a deliberate attempt to ruin my relationship and my future happiness. It was clear that they would stop at nothing to maintain their toxic hold over my life. After discussing it with Emma, I decided to take legal action. I contacted my lawyer and explained the situation. He advised me to file for a restraining order against my family to protect both myself and Emma from their harassment. I gathered all the evidence, messages, call logs, and witness statements from Emma, and prepared to take my case to the authorities. Filing the police report was a surreal experience. I never imagined that I would have to go to such lengths to protect myself from my own family, but their relentless behavior left me no choice. The police were sympathetic and took my complaints seriously, initiating the process to secure. As the legal proceedings began, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and relief. I was angry that my family had pushed me to this point, sad that our relationship had deteriorated so completely, but relieved that I was finally taking steps to protect myself and those I love. In the midst of all this chaos, I went ahead with the proposal. I took Emma to our favorite spot, overlooking the city, and with my heart pounding, asked her to marry me. She said yes, and despite everything, it was one of the happiest moments of my life. Emma's support and love have been a beacon of hope through these dark times. The restraining order has been granted, and my family is now legally prohibited from contacting me or Emma. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I know it's the right thing to do. Protecting our peace and happiness is my top priority, and I won't allow anyone to jeopardize that. Thank you all for your unwavering support and encouragement. Your words have been a source of strength during these incredibly challenging times. Update 5. Hey, everyone. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, and I have some incredible updates to share. This journey has been nothing short of a roller coaster, and the latest events have brought both joy and a final, shocking confrontation with my family. Emma and I have officially tied the knot. Our wedding was everything we dreamed of and more. We decided to keep it a small, intimate ceremony with close friends and family who have been supportive throughout our relationship. It was a day filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a beautiful future together. As the wedding day approached, I received an unexpected message from my parents. They wanted to reconcile and asked if they could attend the wedding. They claimed they had realized their mistakes and wanted to be there to support me on my special day. My initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and suspicion. Given their past behavior, I couldn't help but question their motives. After discussing it with Emma, we both agreed that while reconciliation sounded nice in theory, we couldn't ignore the years of manipulation, deceit, and recent attempts to sabotage our relationship. We needed to protect our peace and the sanctity of our wedding day. So with a heavy heart, I decided to tell my family to stay away. I met them at a neutral location to have a face-to-face conversation. My parents and brother were there, looking uncharacteristically subdued. They pleaded with me, saying that they just wanted to make things right and be part of my life again. My dad even apologized, albeit reluctantly, for the way they had treated me. But I knew better. The hurt and manipulation were still too fresh, and their sudden change of heart seemed too convenient. I told them firmly that their actions over the years had caused deep wounds, and while I appreciated their attempt at reconciliation, it was too little, too late. I couldn't allow them to be part of my wedding, as it would only bring more stress and potential drama. My brother predictably lost his temper. He accused me of being ungrateful and selfish, saying that I was tearing the family apart. My parents tried to guilt-trip me, but I stood my ground. I told them that my decision was final, and that I needed to focus on my new life with Emma. The confrontation ended with them storming out, hurling accusations and threats. It was painful, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I couldn't allow their toxic behavior to overshadow one of the most important days of my life. Despite this turmoil, our wedding was perfect. Emma and I exchanged vows in a beautiful outdoor ceremony, surrounded by those who truly cared about us. The love and support we felt were overwhelming, and it was a day we will cherish forever. After the wedding, we decided to take a break from everything and went on a honeymoon to a secluded, peaceful location. It was exactly what we needed to start our married life on a positive note. We spent our days exploring, relaxing, and making plans for our future together. Returning from the honeymoon, I feel more determined than ever to focus on my marriage and my career. I've learned that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family, and that my well-being and happiness are paramount. Thank you all for your continued support and encouragement. Your words have been a source of strength throughout this journey. I hope my story serves as a reminder that it's okay to prioritize your happiness and protect yourself from toxic influences, even if it means making tough decisions about family. Here's to new beginnings, unwavering love, and the courage to stand up for what's right.